Good morning, AP Research students. It's June 1st, the last month of high school for you, the last 10 days of high school for you. All your teachers and myself are so happy for you, and we're so proud that you chose our school and our programs. But additionally, myself and all your teachers are very worried considering what's been happening. We're scared for your safety. We want to make sure that you're okay. We're not at school. We're not at a place where we can come together physically to reassure ourselves that we're all part of the same team and that we all want to preserve each other as best we can. We're separated because of this pandemic, because of this history. 2020 has been full of history that you got to live through. At some point, not too far off, the AP US History exam is going to include this pandemic and the events of the last week since the murder of George Floyd by the police. You get to live through this history, and living through history is a painful thing, as you are all aware from what we've experienced in the last few months, where almost everything that we were accustomed to has been altered. So I urge you all to please be safe. All your teachers, as I mentioned, all of us at the school, all of us in our communities are fearful for what could happen to you all. Not just the 11 of you in this class or the 1,800 students that come to Bravo, but all of the young people. In 1992, the last time that there were mass riots in Los Angeles, I was about your age. I had just turned 18. It was my first year of college at PCC. We didn't have any internet. We didn't have any cell phones. If my mom wanted to know I was okay, I would have to find a way to get to a payphone that wasn't broken and call her and say, "Mom, I'm all right." I remember that day at school when they essentially told us that they were going to close up. I walked home. I was okay. I walked home. We were scared for my dad because he was at work. My dad, at that time, he had 2 jobs. And the daytime, he worked at an Army Navy surplus store, which is kind of like a thrift store. And he would fold clothes and bring stock from the back and like shine the shoe. I mean, he did whatever they had to do over there, clean the stuff, unload boxes. And then his night job, he worked at a hospital where he did security. And I was scared for him because as part of working security, the uniform that they made him wear looked like a police uniform, but it wasn't. It was a security guard. Every job my dad always had was wearing a uniform somehow. And we were so scared that something would happen to him before he got home, but he couldn't not go to work. There wasn't an option back then, or ever, for any of the jobs that either of my parents ever did. And this weekend, when I was talking to my neighbors and we were reminiscing about the last time that our city had gone through this, I remembered, being in our apartment with my mom and my sister. My sister was in 11th grade, so we'd gone to pick her up. And we just stayed home. My mom didn't let her go to school the next couple of days. And I remember the one night we were at my window, because my window faced more to the street than anybody else's, and you could see up to the corner. There's a liquor store there, and someone had like driven up a van to dislodge the bars, and we watched that. And those are images you don't ever forget. And you're living at a time where a lot of images from what's been happening in our city and in our country the last few months to what's been happening all over the world, those images are engraved in our memory. That is our participation in the act of history in some degree, that we record, we document these memories to transmit them to the future. 28 years ago, I would never have imagined everything that happened in my life after that. None of us are able to do that. The sensation of time doesn't work the way the sensation of memory, where we can look back and recall things. We cannot look forward. We can only move forward. And so I urge you, please, to be safe no matter what you're doing. Please, to be safe. I had planned to show you this, which is how you can go and find your scores when they're available. I'm going to post the link, and they're giving some dates for when your scores should be able to be accessed. For us, it's going to be Wednesday, July 15th. So make sure that you copy and paste the link after I post it, and you bookmark it so that you can check your scores. You won't be able to, I think, access Schoology after school ends next week. And I'm going to post this. This is the canopy part of the Los Angeles Public Library website. For those of you who have a library card, part of the service that we get is, apart from being able to check out books, we get to watch movies, listening to audio books, music as well. So if you don't have an account, it's really easy to set one up. And I bring this up because there is a section in the Canopy site on the documentaries that they have on social and systemic injustice. And one of the documentaries that's on there was released very recently in the last couple of years, and it's about American author James Baldwin, who was in the process of writing a book about the assassinations of three of his close friends, Medgar Evers, Malcolm X, and Martin Luther King Jr. in the 1960s, a time of a lot of upheaval in America. You were all in American history last year, so I'm sure that you learned about the contributions of these important men to history. And in the background you probably hear the sirens. I live in Echo Park, and there's often sirens here, but there's been a whole bunch more sirens this last weekend, so I can't control those. But as I was saying, there's this documentary about the history of the civil rights movement as told by someone who was part of them. As it says, it goes all the way from the civil rights movements of the 1960s to the current Black Lives Matter movement that's happening right now. It is a very powerful documentary, and it's very graphic. I have to, of course, as your teacher, warn you of potential triggers that could come from what we're going to watch in class, if there are any. And this has some incredible imagery that is very powerful. So if you have a chance and you want to put a little bit more context to what's happening, this is definitely a documentary to consider, as are several more. There's a ton of great stuff on this website that's available to all of you for free. I'll post a link for that. Once again, we're worried about all of our students and all of our young people and all of us in general. I didn't expect to make an 11-minute and 17-second update, and I don't know if any of you will stay all the way through and listen to it, but I hope you know that all of your teachers, we all love you, and we are all worried about what can happen to you all the time, but particularly now when there's so much going on. So please be safe. If you have any questions, please ask. Take care.